eBay taxes and the fun that comes with them. Hi, my name's Mike. I've been reselling for about 1.5 years, and I've done our taxes for 2 years now.
And I'm Jen, and I've been selling on eBay for about 1 year, and taxes are something that should be left to the pros so that I can go outside and play.
Play in your garden, yes.
I would like to be outside.
Beautiful sunny day here on the coast, and I think we both would like to be outside, but we have business to take care of.
But first business.
But first, our taxes.
Yay.
So this comes with a huge disclaimer that Jennifer and I are not CPAs. We're not licensed tax professionals. I used an online tax preparing. Yes, that was the word.
Preparing software.
Preparing software. That was literally point and click. And we're just going to be open and honest with you today and tell you all what our numbers were and what I did and what we did.
All right.
The goal for this, Jen is very uninterested in taxes.
Very.
So my goal in this is to have Jen come out of this with a good understanding of what our taxes were. So when the IRS comes to audit us, Jen can give them the information that they need.
It doesn't feel very inspirational that you are admitting that the IRS might come and audit us.
Deductions are very vague on the IRS website.
But I don't think that we had any that were very vague.
No.
Ours are very legitimate.
No.
We don't have vague deductions.
We'll get into that in a little bit. But first off, we got a really encouraging email from a listener.
That's so sweet.
It was just amazing to see it pop up. And it was from KK.
Thank you, KK.
KK. And she just wanted to give us encouragement. Or if it's a him, I'm so sorry. I thought it was a woman.
Oh, dear.
So they just wanted to give us a little shout out, a little note saying that they appreciate listening to us and that we're enjoyable to listen to. So
thank you so much. That means a lot.
I know. It's pretty cool. All right. So, Jen, do you have any big sales updates?
Indeed, I do, Mike.
Mike, so formal.
I do have a sales update or two for you. On the 20th, we had a very nice sale, which left us with a profit of $73.94.
$73 in profit.
On one sale, which had me pretty excited.
Yes.
I am used to the $20-ish range on the profit for an individual item. And so anytime that we have one that is above, for sure above 50, I sit up and I notice, and it makes me happy that we had a good sale for that day. But then the next day, Mike, it was incredible. On the 21st, we had 5 transactions, which in the past we've had 5 transactions, but we had 5 pretty good transactions. One of them was a very high dollar amount transaction. And that day's total profit for 5 sales ended up being about $174, which I thought was really good. I was feeling pretty good I felt pretty good that day. That was kind of fun. Yeah. It was fun to get a big one. It was 2 in a row because the day before we had the $74 one. And then the next day we had that plus 100, which was exciting.
Yeah, we had 5 sales in a weekend, and then we had 4 more on the Monday, the next day. So it was kind of cool.
We had a pretty good stretch, and then we kind of hit a little quiet spell, and then I had some sales that have been just sort of low ticket.
Yeah, I saw those.
It was just a little lid and a little salad keeper thing. So, it ebbs and it flows. It ebbs and it flows. We're still getting used to that. There's no way for it to be predictable. There's no predictability. Tax
refunds are going to be coming in pretty soon, so head on over to the Pickers Podcast eBay store for all your Tupperware needs.
Thanks. That's fun.
Yes, it is.
I can't wait for people to start spending their tax refunds.
All right, so I did our taxes this year and last year. Last year kind of was horrible to do. This year was pretty bad too.
It didn't seem like it was that horrible, but I wasn't doing any of it.
So. Yeah, so Jen took off to go see her parents for a week, and I just took this quiet time to sit down and do the taxes. And with the tax preparing software, it makes it pretty easy, except for I wanted to make sure I was doing everything right that I wanted that I wouldn't miss deductions, and then I wouldn't take deductions that were unfair that would
Doesn't
cause us.
doesn't the software prompt you to just to answer the questions truthfully? Like it prompts you to answer them all. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to go wrong, isn't it?
Some of it, yes. Some of it's a little subjective. Like they let you write off your utilities, a percentage of your utilities.
So then you have to measure like the square footage and stuff, right?
No, that's the write off a percentage of your house, your home office.
Oh, right.
Utilities are something different.
Sure.
So like when you had your graphic design business, it was 1/3 of your business because there's 3 8-hour periods in a day, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is meant for sleeping, one of them's for productive work, 8 hours of productive work, and then another 8 hours is your rest time, right?
For sure.
Well, you are eBay from the time you get up until the time you go to bed. So that's 2/3 of your day is.
It can be. I do feel a little on call. I mean, I'm certainly not working for 16 hours straight. That would be a lot, but you kind of are on call.
Technically, you are because you're running the business for 16 hours, right? And like I said, we're not tax professionals. And if IRS dings us on this, whatever, we'll make it correct, make it right. But when I get off work, my normal job, 8, 9 hours a day, then I start doing eBay stuff. So technically, this might run into a sticky situation too. We've already lost like 2/3 of our listeners, but that's okay. Bear with us. Technically, I'm a single member LLC. So that's me. So you would have to be a partner in the LLC for us to write off both of them. I'm probably going to cut that part out. But so with your utilities, if you're working 2/3 of your day, if you're working from time you wake up until the time you go to sleep, it's not straight grinding hours. That's answering questions. It's packaging things. It's monitoring your eBay account for sales. That is time that you've worked on your eBay.
Yeah, and I really do check in on it periodically throughout the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't have very good discipline, I guess, because I know some people, they start and they stop. But I like the fluidness that eBay is for my schedule. I enjoy that actually. It doesn't feel cumbersome or burdensome to me.
It's like you were saying, you're not grinding out for 16 hours. It's grind for a few and then monitor and grind, grind. Go shopping. It's the fun part of doing it.
Like it. Yeah,
I know.
Fun. It's nice to take a little break in the middle of the day. It's fun.
And me editing videos, editing this podcast, I consider that all the eBay business. That's promoting. It's all that kind of stuff. So I wrote off 2/3 of our utilities. And then I wrote off 100% of our home alarm because it's protecting our inventory that we have, right?
Yeah,
all of our equipment. And then I wrote off 100% of the pest control because it's protecting all of our inventory and equipment.
Yeah.
So when you really dig down into it, there was a lot that we could write off where I almost felt guilty. But I looked at a lot of the things and it was okay to write these things off as a business, even a reselling business.
I don't think that you should feel guilty. I mean,
It was
they wouldn't let you if it weren't okay.
It was a lot of write-offs. Yeah. It was kind of crazy.
I think it feels like a lot because we weren't extremely profitable. But would it have felt different to you if we had made $100,000? Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, just because when you're starting a new business, you're not making a lot of money.
Right.
But the emphasis and the keyword should be yet.
Yes, exactly.
And so we do see a lot of people have tremendous success, like the Bearded Thrifter and some others that you've had on. And so
he's going to have to start paying us because we're talking about his channel an awful lot.
I just really enjoy this.
He is a really great guy. Him and his wife both.
Yeah. So it's not guilty. It's just, it takes for any business, it takes a while for that to happen. I mean, even when I was doing my graphic design business, there were, the first year can be kind of hard for any business, especially one that is fluctuates as much as eBay. So,
according to my tax professional Google, takes 5 years of negative business before the average person starts making money.
Yeah, you should get it together.
It's a startup.
You should get it together before 5 years is up.
Yeah.
Or it's just not a great idea.
And we're going to give you our actual numbers. So we're going to be super open and transparent with you all. Not our 90-day averages It's going to be our actual profit and loss that we're going to go through.
Sure.
So going with the tax software, it costs $128. You can file it. I thought you had to file a business and your personal separate, but you don't. You can file your business in with your income on your 1040 form, so your regular tax form. Then you use the Schedule C for all of your deductions. So I've always been confused that you want to separate out your income, but you don't have to at the end of the year. You can combine it and use it all as one thing. So what it did is it added my W-2, it added my eBay sales onto my W-2 income, and then it gave me the opportunity to write deductions off.
And I actually had a W-2 for that year as well.
Yeah, you did. And you had
couple.
another 1099 for some contracting work that you did.
So,
But the beautiful thing that I didn't ever considered about having this business is I normally pay these bills anyways, right? So you're normally paying this money out.
yeah.
And it was kind of cool to be able to write off a lot of that stuff. So it felt like the business, I was already going to spend this this money. So the business money that came in was able to pay those bills and lower my tax bill too. The more I'm finding out about taxes and the way that the rich keep their money, it's really fascinating. And I can't believe I haven't done this sooner.
And, for a couple of the first years, I mean, it just depends on what your business is and what your business needs are, what you're spending your money on. A lot of it can be infrastructure. So the first few years you're spending money, you may have to spend some money down the road to keep equipment maintained or whatnot. But for us, as inexpensive as they are, we have a lot of plastic totes. Unless something were to crack or break, I mean, there could be an earthquake and I might need to replace some of the totes. Sure, that could happen, but we spent probably hundreds, I don't know how many, but we probably spent hundreds of dollars on plastic totes. And now we have plastic totes. I mean, probably not buying too many plastic totes this year, So, I mean, that can be computer equipment. I mean, we've purchased a lot to do this podcast, soundboards and little things that hold your cell phone and lights and white boxes to take pictures in. I mean, those things are not things that you're replacing like ink or paper, so, it can be kind of hard to get a business going.
Those are all deductions. And that's a great point. And that's why the IRS recognizes that the first 5 years are generally lost years. So I'm going to cover this down a little bit further, but there's two things that you can do with equipment that you buy, like computers and anything that was over, gosh, I didn't write this number down. It's anything over a certain amount, you can either take the deduction for that year. So if you have a high earning and a big tax bill for that year, then that might benefit you to take that deduction that year. They also have an option that you can space that depreciation on that piece of equipment out over for a number of years. So what that does is it takes instead of one big chunk in 1 year, you take it out over 5 or 10 years. Yeah. And what that does is takes your tax bill down for all those 5 years for that one piece that you bought.
Yeah, I think our CPA, when I had my graphic design business, I think that they were doing that with some of my computer equipment. And there are things that depreciate in value, such as like your technology.
Yes.
And from my memory, if you were to look back at our taxes, that is how she did those
depreciations.
Yeah, I think that's how she went about them.
Yeah, I deducted this laptop the first year, which was a couple $1,000s. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like your own personal preference. I don't see us buying any more really expensive gear.
No, we're probably fixed on expensive gear, thankfully. I'm the saver in the relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't really like to spend money if I don't have to.
All right, so it took me 9 hours to do the taxes just because I wanted to get them right. It said on TurboTax that it would only take an hour and a half to do a business, but it didn't. It took me 9 straight hours. Not straight hours, it was off and on through.
But when we had a CPA, they have an hourly rate. So, I mean, I know that the business was technically a different business, but the CPA that we were paying when we had my other business, we were paying for probably at least 6 hours of their time. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, but the difference between being a professional and it taking 6 hours and you taking 9 hours feels pretty fair.
Yeah. It was daunting. And so I really think that maybe next year I might go with a tax professional, even though it's $275 more.
Yeah. Oh no, it was a lot more. If you only paid 128, I think
It was
it was 5 or
475.
600. It was every year it kind of crept
Yeah, it
up.
did keep going up.
I think it started at 4 something, and then by the
Yeah.
time we weren't using them anymore, it was getting close to
They,
600.
they actually fired us
They
because our
did.
taxes got too easy.
They're like, we don't want to do your taxes
This
anymore.
isn't fair to charge you $500. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
in hindsight, I feel better about it.
Yeah.
Now, it seems like a money well spent.
Exactly. So let's get started into this thing. So where do I find this information on eBay? Anything over $600 and eBay, I think it starts next year. They postponed it this year, but next year they'll send you a 1099. They should have sent you a 1099 anyways for anything over $600. We made $11,000 in sales, and we did not get a 1099K or whatever the form is that eBay's supposed to send. So where do I find these numbers?
In my spreadsheet that I keep,
Where did I
right?
go?
Like
Right.
I diligently keep track of it, but
I wanted the one that eBay sent to the IRS.
but it is always comforting when your numbers match their numbers.
I didn't
right?
match our numbers with their numbers. I didn't want to know.
You don't want to know. Okay.
But anyway, so you go into the seller hub on eBay. It's really easy. Then you go to the payments tab, and then you go into the reports, and it has a drop down to select last year. And you just click on that, and it brings up all of your sales for last year. And it gives you, eBay does it. They know that you're going to go here for this information. So they put your sales in there. And they also put what it takes for what you spent on shipping labels and ad fees, and then any other kind of returns and deductions that you had. So
I love how easy they make that.
yeah, they did make it
nice.
easy. So going into the transparency of our eBay store, last year was our first full year really getting into it.
And we traveled a lot.
We did
so
travel a lot. We're on vacation mode for probably a month.
quite a bit. And
last
so, please don't think that this is just an entire year of slogging away.
Yeah, well, it was slogging, but it was getting things listed. We got almost 1,000 pieces of Tupperware listed. So
Hey, we do. That's coming up here real soon.
wait till the update. Wait till the update. I'll let you tell that one.
Okay.
All right, so we made $11,006.37 in sales. We had $172.06 in refunds. That's where our customer sent back the product. We had to refund them. I don't care who you are. You're gonna have refunds. If you haven't got a refund yet, you haven't been selling long enough, and you're gonna get a refund.
Or you're just extremely lucky.
Yeah, or you've been extremely lucky. Yeah. And yeah, to be honest with that, we're really good customer service. So, like, to avoid a negative comment, we've given a refund before. Like, we've gotten ahead of a couple of problem areas.
There've been a
with
few
refunds.
I've been nervous about, but it did seem like we pulled it off.
That $172 was well worth spent.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
So what you do is you take the 11,006, and you minus the 172 to get your sales, and that brought us to $10,834.31 for the 2023 year. So this is the money that you're going to report either on your 1040 as additional income, or this is what you're going to give to your CPA if eBay doesn't send you a 1099 form. Does that all make sense?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so for deductions, if you're doing them yourself and you're including your income on 1040 form, then you're going to use a Schedule C for business deductions. This is where you're going to write all your things off, your laptops, your inventory, your boxes, your shipping labels, and your eBay fees.
All the things.
Yes.
All the legitimate things.
Yes. So on that one, we paid $2,613.76 in eBay fees. It's a lot out of 10,000. What's that? A quarter of our profit was in eBay fees. But there's another caveat before you guys start saying, you guys promote way too much. Yes, we did. We had to earn our money back quickly on that $1,900.
So it's a little bit more smoother sailing now, right?
Yeah, it's all gravy now. But back then, number one, we wanted to get our name out there. It was a learning experience, and we needed to make our money back.
And develop reviews for our page, and a good number for the number of sales that we've had. So it was very strategic on our part to do it that way. We could have done it differently. You could do it differently. That's what we picked.
So you can chalk that up to advertising and buying reviews if you want to or whatever.
Well, yeah.
But those are eBay fees. It's promoted and the normal 12 to 15% eBay fees. eBay charges you on every single transaction that you sell.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is that we paid $2,447.01. Oh, that's interesting. We paid 1 penny on something. In shipping labels. So that's the shipping labels that you buy. If you use Pirate Ship, you're going to deduct that money that you have spent on Pirate Ship in this one. So we just got a business credit card. Woohoo!
That seems exciting.
It does seem exciting, but we're not pro credit card. We are pro using a credit card to accrue points and miles and all that kind of stuff, the benefits. But if you're not responsible, disciplined. If you're not disciplined enough to pay that credit card and not use what you don't have, do not use credit cards. It's the fastest way that you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble.
And we actually prefer the terminology charge card. So you're just
and what does charge cards mean?
In my brain, a charge card is a little different. American Express is sort of the original charge card. It means you have to pay off the balance every month. It's just a way to charge an expense and you're paying it off. A credit card is someone extending you credit so that you pay it back on terms. And I don't really like their terms. So even our credit cards, I tend to call those charge cards because for my own brain, I just prefer that language. I like that mindset better and I like the discipline of that better. So choose for you.
I call our credit cards travels and points.
Travels and points.
Vacation card right there.
And we've had success doing that as well, right? I mean,
exactly.
We just had our last vacation was mostly on miles and points. So
I've taken a lot of
I was pretty excited when we got the business card.
Yes.
That's pretty cool because there was some things that I didn't think that we could necessarily earn points on, but now we can.
Yeah. And you're correct. American Express is a charge card. At the end of the month, you have to pay that bill. If you don't pay that bill, they don't let you charge anymore to that card. Credit cards, you can charge up to your limit and they don't care as long as you're paying the fees. All right. So this is your basic numbers from eBay. It's your profit minus profit in sales. And then you get to deduct. This is the first thing you should be deducting. It's your ads and your eBay fees. And then you get your ads and your promoted fees, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it both. Let's just use common terminology. So your promoted fees, that's the first thing you should be deducting. eBay fees is what they charge you to use their platform. And if you have heartburn over what eBay charges you, you shouldn't, because it's immediately access to over, I don't know what they're up to, like 3.5 million people using the eBay platform.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of people that you immediately have access to that eBay is doing for you. You get to use their website, free website use. You get to use their listing platform, which I know is cumbersome. They have some crazy terms that you have to agree to. Buyer not paying immediately. All that kind of stuff is kind of annoying, but the benefit of it way outweighs what it is.
And really, when I have special knowledge and insight on the graphic design portion of a website, so the back end work that it would take if you were to truly program or make your own website plus promote it out in the rate that eBay does, you would be spending more money to host your own website and keep it accurate. And so when you look at their fees, it really is fair for what they provide, because if you were to go and make something similar for yourself, it wouldn't be as successful and it would cost you more. So I know there's some horror stories out there on things that can happen to sellers for eBay, but by and large, it's a pretty good deal. Yeah,
it's well worth the 12%.
Yeah.
So that's just the very basics deductions for eBay right there. And then there is a whole lot of other deductions that TurboTax let me write off. And it asks you what kind of a business you have, and then it gives you the option of what kind of taxes or deductions you can write off. So Jen, what are some, in this way the IRS words it too, is it's like, why can't you give me a list of what I can write off? Well, it's pretty subjective, and it would be a big list depending on what your business type is.
Sure.
So what they say is common items, you can write off common items in your genre of business.
Sure. And I think a little bit of that is common sense, right? If it feels
Yeah.
icky, then you probably ought not to do it. That's
Mhm.
probably your conscience telling you like that's not on the up and up. But
Exactly.
common things are just office supplies, paper, ink pens,
Slow down.
post-it notes.
Slow down. How many? What do you got?
Oh,
Office
are you
supplies?
counting?
No,
Oh.
I want it to go slower so we can get an
Oh,
idea
I
of
mean,
these.
I'm not going to provide a comprehensive list, I don't think,
Yeah,
but
these are some of the more common ones.
just common office supplies. If you go into Staples and you are buying it for your business, anything in the Staples store is probably, there's going to be a few exceptions in there. You probably can't use candy as a deduction. They probably have some candy and some sodas and some, some fun little things, but legitimate office supplies, paper.
What is an eBay person going to use?
Oh, well, I can tell you the things that we use.
Labels?
Paper, labels,
We
ink.
use paper? What do we use paper for?
Occasionally we have to use paper. Yeah, that's perfectly normal
Okay.
business expense. File folders, ink pens, Sharpie markers, tape,
Tape's a good one.
different kinds of tape.
That's what we're looking for is the off the top.
just basic
Off the
office
top
supplies.
ones.
Yeah, and
What else?
boxes. We actually
Boxes.
do.
That's what I was looking for.
We've had to move towards, and this kind of grieves my very.
But does it make it 20,000 times easier to do this?
It kind of does. Yeah, it really does. It is nice. I like to not spend money on the packaging, and I still am very happy to recycle and use, the other packaging. But yes, it is nice to just have a supply of the right size boxes, and it makes the listing a lot easier for me as well because I'm starting to memorize the sizes of boxes that we have, and as I'm making the listing, I know which one is probably going to go into when it gets sold. I'm getting really good at guessing that, and also just sort of knowing the weight of them. So the boxes, yeah, I mean, it's hard because I would prefer to that to be free and we would just make that money. But yes, your boxes and the tape that you use to seal them up and the packing paper or the peanuts or the bubble wrap or bubble boy bubble wrap, whatever you're using, is a legitimate
So
business.
those are the common ones.
Yeah.
Yep, that I agree on. If you buy boxes, it is a business expense. If you're going to be a business owner, you're going to have overhead and expenses.
I think the plastic totes, that's
Plastic
a
totes,
common
that's inventory,
to
storage
our
management.
type of business. I mean, in graphic design business, I can't go writing off 100 plastic totes.
Right.
Like the IRS be like, why are you using 100 plastic totes for
Exactly.
graphic design? But for graphic design manuals and my rulers and things, different things were a common business expense. So.
Light rings, the light boxes, all that kind of stuff is all write off. It's all a deduction.
Oh.
All right, some of the other things that you can use is there is a standard deduction in the IRS for resellers that use their cars for their business. So what you do, this is the way you're supposed to do it, is you take a reading of your odometer, no matter if you use your car for personal and business, take the initial reading off your odometer. And then on top of that, you want to take a reading and write down, like Jen has a spreadsheet that she writes down in, write down your mileage for every business use that you do with your car. Yeah. And then at the end of the year, there was a place in TurboTax to plug those numbers in. And it says if it's going to be better to take the standard deduction that eBay allows, or if it's better for me to take the deduction of the mileage. Mm-hmm. And that was...
For this last year, which one did we do?
They recommended standard deduction for both of our cars because it was cheaper.
Wasn't as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was more challenging. I don't struggle with keeping records and maintaining receipts and that kind of thing. But the
mileage
was the one that I really struggled with. And I felt like I really needed your help with a lot because I'd say, oh, remind me to record that, and
yeah,
I keep it all in the same spot in a very handy spreadsheet. But that was one of the ones that was a little bit more challenging for me to keep track of,
I think we're making it harder for ourselves by trying to manage all these spreadsheets when we could just use something like QuickBooks, which is on an app on our phone.
Yes,
super easy.
Let's learn an incredibly difficult additional program.
I don't think that they're as hard as they used to be.
I don't know. I don't think that the way we do it is hard.
I've tried using
The only
QuickBooks.
portion of it I thought was hard was trying to remember to record the stupid miles. And if it were just a notebook and a pen and it was in the car, I'd probably would probably be simpler for me.
We need to buy something else that we need to remember to do in the car instead of this app that we have on our phone, and it logs over to the computer.
Yeah, we have different styles. Yours is more tech-based.
And is a deduction at the end of the year, so we're not really paying for it.
Right. But, I mean, I'm glad that we can just take the standard deduction. That seems a lot easier. Let's just do that.
Because I was worrying about mileage and then also insurance on the cars.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I didn't know if that was a separate write-off. So there was a lot to think about. So, okay, the dedicated home office was the other thing that you had mentioned. So if you have a dedicated space for eBay business, so it can't be commingled with something else. Like Jen has a dedicated office
for sure
in our house that's used for eBay.
You have to have your own space to run a business in your home. This isn't the pandemic. We all made it work for a while, but if you just have to have your own space. You have to.
Right. And so the IRS lets you write that off, and you take the square footage. So it's add from one side to the other, or times one side to the other, and that gives you the square footage. Then you plug in the square footage of your house. That gives you what percentage of your house is your home office.
Yeah, and I remember my CPA asking all of those questions, the square footage and the size of the room and stuff. So that's a lot of businesses. That's not just eBay business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, commercial space, everything. So then, like I said, you get to write off the utilities, water, phone, internet. Starlink was written off.
I think she even did trash at one point. She asked
trash,
for trash and water bills, kinds of things.
And it's the percentage. You have to take the percentage. You can't get your personal use in there too. Yeah. You have to take the percentage that you're honestly working in your business. Okay, and then home alarm, printers. We bought a printer. We bought a computer from the church last year. You can write off your iPads if you buy iPads for this. So IRS says that you can write off anything, like I said, that's common to your business. So in trivia, when we go over trivia, it's IRS trivia and the dumb deductions that are taken. So I found a lot of stuff on the internet. But
fair enough.
Okay, so a legitimate question that I have for our audience, or somebody that I just haven't researched this yet. Maybe Jen, you might even know the answer to this one. But say at the end of the year, we have a successful business. Like we did not have a successful business this year.
I mean, it felt successful in our
soul. It felt successful.
On paper, it wasn't very successful.
Yeah, we made $10,000 and spent $15,000. That just wasn't. That's not how you're supposed to run a business, right?
It just takes a while.
Yeah, it does.
You got to stay encouraged because those little things can really kind of like drag you down and make you think why. But now the foundation is laid. 2024 is our year, you know. So
we would have spent like $10,000 of that anyways, just on natural expenses. So having the eBay business, it makes it feel like it didn't hurt so much.
Yeah, at least we got to start a business with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
All right, so at the end of the year, if I owe taxes, if I owe $1,000 in taxes, and I think I'm right about this, but correct me if I'm wrong, drop it in the comments or shoot me an email and tell me where I'm wrong, is if I owe $1,000 in taxes, can I buy something for $1,000 and not owe that $1,000 in taxes? That could be another deduction. So let's say at the end of the year, I owe $1,000 before. I already know I owe $1,000, so I go buy an iPad for $1,000. It's a business expense, something for my business. But now, does that bring my taxable down to net $0 then?
Well, I'm going to say no in twofold. There's two reasons why I would find fault with your argument, though. I do think it is a fun notion. I just don't think it's a very accurate notion. One, because you would not know how much you owed until you sat down to do 9 hours worth of taxes. And by then it's too late for you to buy something on that year. So in order for something to have been a tax deduction for the 2023 taxes, it would have needed to be purchased before the end of the day on December the 31st of 2023.
You can start preparing your stuff early. So you
can, but most people don't. And so I think probably not. And it is a bit
of about that one too.
I guess until you have it all completed. And so you can't have it all completed until the year is completely closed out. So gray on that one. But then two, I think that a lot of times people think that that a deduction is a one-for-one situation.
And that's really where my
And it's-
question is. Is
I
it a
think-
1-for-1?
I think people get kind of confused. Like they think, oh, I'll just write it off. And just because you spent $5 doesn't mean that necessarily
Yeah.
$5 comes off.
That's
So
where I need to research the IRS more, is what a deduction if it is a 1-for-1.
it's a percentage and it's based on your income and your expenses and things. And so it's not a straight, I just don't think that it's a very good idea. But I do think that you can maximize once you have your business going for a lot of years, you probably could start to make more informed decisions about that type of thing once you have a really good baseline to compare it to. With us being new, I don't think that we have the kind of baseline that feels very long.
I think if we had a
long
CPA
term.
that kept all of our numbers for us, she would be able to tell us, or he would be able to tell us before the end of the year when it got there.
If you truly have a bookkeeper that is also your CPA and they're doing your books for you throughout the year, they could probably very much help you make some informed decisions. But at the end of the day, you're still just spending more than you're getting back probably. But
you have valid reasons, and I think you're on the right track. But where I'm trying to go with it is, that pest control business isn't doing a very good job, is it? There's ants walking around on our table for you that are listening.
Ants at 4110.
No, jeez. But you want to get to a point. So if I owe $1,000 to the IRS, I'm still going to have to pay the $1,000. If I can spend the $1,000 on a deductible item for my business, I would much rather give Best Buy or whoever it is $1,000 and I get something out of it rather than not paying the IRS in taxes. So if it's a legitimate business reason and expense that I need, I would much rather buy the $1,000 thing instead of owing $1,000 in taxes. Because you have to pay the $1,000 either way, either which way you go. So it might as well be something that profits your business, that helps your business.
And you do see a lot of businesses making fourth quarter decisions for their stock, for their inventory, for their business supplies. I mean, it is not unusual. In fact, we have our own healthcare savings plan that allows us to roll over a certain portion of the money, but if not, we have to spend a portion of it. And so you get a lot of people placing their orders in December, right? Because they are wanting to maximize what they can do for that year. And so the theory really isn't all that different for businesses who have that bookkeeper that's a CPA that's going to be doing the taxes. They can say, it really would be in your best interest to spend XYZ on boxes. And then it can make you feel a little bit better about buying boxes, But you really need to know, that has to be informed. That can't just be a guess.
Some bookkeeping software like QuickBooks would really help you be able to tell by the end of the year.
Probably so, but then you'd have to be paying for QuickBooks as well. But QuickBooks can also be a business expense. So
it is.
But again, you're not writing off 100% of QuickBooks. So
at the end of the year, it would catch it before we actually had to pay it off.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. And so give us a review over an Apple Podcasts, if you would. It really helps out to generate the algorithm. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We'll take a little pause and wait for you to do it. But hit the subscribe button and then click the little notification bell that pops up so you'll get notified when our videos drop.
Thank you.
Yes, you don't have to just sit there and watch us either. Just push play and it becomes like an audio podcast. It just plays our video and the audio comes out of it. So
And leave us a little comment. We really like your comments.
yeah, the comments are pretty good. We like them. And then, so the next piece, Jennifer, is the Tupperware update. Woo! Tupperware update.
I got Tupperware coming out of my eyeballs.
Best part of the whole show.
The best part of my whole week is the shelves that you spent all day long yesterday making me, which is also a business expense for 2024.
The inventory.
I'm so excited to have like a shelving situation for all of my Tupperware. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Making that for me. It makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, so what she's talking about is you've probably seen the shelves with the Costco totes.
Now I have some.
Yeah, I spent all day yesterday and I made some, and we don't have quite the Costco totes. We have the clear ones, and it holds two of these clear ones too deep, and then it's 7 rows high. So we have a lot of storage space now. We love it.
Magnificent. I
And
love it.
it didn't take up very much of my garage either, so I get to have some of my garage back.
Once I get those boxes emptied, right?
Yeah.
I still have a lot of boxes.
I'm just gonna go and buy some clear totes and throw all that stuff in the totes for you
No.
until you get the chance to go through them. All right, so Tupperware cost us $1,000 for 500 pieces, which turned out to be about 1,000 pieces, and then $900 to go pick it up. And so we have made so far. I should switch those. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll switch those next episode. But let's start it off this way. So after eBay fees, we have made $4,607.07 just in Tupperware. That's up $600 in just 2 weeks. That's a legitimate profit.
It's a legitimate part-time job. This is
12,
great.
yeah, $1,200 for 2 weeks for a month is a legitimate part-time job.
For sure. And I mean, always getting there, you know. So
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's encouraging.
Yep.
It's
And
it's fun, you know. So
Yeah, and that's not quite take home because
Yeah.
we need to take out for taxes and we tithe on that also.
for sure.
So it's not quite a take home, but it's pretty close.
It's getting there. 2024 is looking up.
Yeah. If we could double that to 20,000 this year, then that doubles our profit. That would definitely be legit.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to $2,707.07. It's a lot of sevens in our profits.
There are a lot of sevens in our profit. Is that going to be lucky or?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that
Net
we believe in
profit,
luck.
over 261 listings sold of Tupperware. So that's an average profit of $17.65 per piece. And keep in mind, we bought these for $1 to $2. Now, we did list the good stuff first. So,
No,
yeah.
we still have a lot of good stuff.
Well, we do still have a lot of good stuff, but we're getting down to the lids. So the
No.
$5 lids.
I just took a break and did lids. I'm sorry if that was misleading. Oh no, we have so much Tupperware to go. I just wanted to do something easy for a change, so I did lids.
Okay, so while it was saying that, we hadn't been listing lids. So now we're down to the lower profit items. So this number could drop because we've already seen a couple sales of lids already that are in the $5 range. So our average profit could drop, but that's still pretty impressive, $17.65. And that's up from the last 2 weeks, which was at $16.78.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to give our listeners an update of how many listings you have listed at Tupperware so far?
As of today, 940. But I'm doing a lot per week here lately.
Yeah.
The lids, you're right. The lids were kind of a little bit of an experiment on my part. I listed them a lot of different ways in one round of doing lids. I did it for a couple of different reasons. One, I wanted to run my own little personal experiment with lids and see what the way the wording goes for the listing, like the title. I wanted just to do a little bit of an experiment with it. I wanted to see if listings for individual lids did better than listings with like a couple of the same lids. And so I have kind of like a multi-part kind of a experiment going with the lids, but also we have the clear totes, and sometimes there's just a little bit of space left in the tote after I put the bigger items into it. And so lids are a really good way to fill up the remainder of the container.
That's a great
And
idea.
I listed lids pretty much all week last week because I just kind of wanted to get a feel for how lids were going to do, and also learn and then take a break from doing lids, go back to doing the bigger things so that I could like have a while for that knowledge to kind of become clear to me.
Sweet.
Yeah, and so I've only filled up like 2 containers with lids. It takes a lot of lids to fill up the remainder of a container when it's pretty full. So, I didn't mean for that to be unclear. We still have gobs of big things to sell.
It's not unclear. We're just getting down to the stuff that wasn't as enticing when you went through the boxes to list.
I feel like that is absolutely an untrue statement.
How could you go through all those boxes and not pick the good stuff out to sell first?
I did, but there's still just a ton of really good stuff.
Let me go through and pick the crap out and list it.
No, I didn't do that.
Oh.
I've only picked good things. In fact, I only picked lids that were perfect. I picked perfect lids. So I just wanted to see. Plus, sometimes you just got to shake things up a little bit. Like I wanted a little bit of an easier week.
Should list all those Tupperware gift boxes that are sitting on my chair in my garage, taking up space.
We could do that. We could do any number of things.
Should have did that as a test.
So many options available.
Yeah. I think all of our Tupperware was all good inventory, so I don't think that there was a bad box in the lot. What I was getting at is that the average price is going to drop because the average price of the item is going to be lower.
It could.
It is.
This week I'm
Lids
going back
are lower. They're $5.
Yeah, they are. They're very easy to list though. So we'll see. This week I will be going. I have already picked out my box that's coming in next, and it has some cool things in it too. So I'm looking forward to this week's listings.
All right, it is trivia time, and we have tax trivia.
Oh, yay!
Ready for some tax trivia?
No.
Jennifer, are you allowed to deduct your pet as a business for a guard dog if it's a guard dog?
It's a guard dog?
Yes.
Gosh. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I think the expenses that come with the dog.
Well, according to the IRS, a poodle is not an efficient guard dog.
No, I think you're going to have something more ferocious.
But a man did try to write off a guard dog, his poodle, as a guard dog.
Oh.
But going with that, you can write off service dogs.
I was going to say, like an emotional support animal.
All that stuff's legit, right? A guard dog, Rottweiler, Adobe, all those kind of guys too, those are probably legitimate business expenses that you could write off. It's just like our home alarm.
You're not getting a dog. We're not getting a dog.
Yeah, whatever.
Is that why you're? Is that why?
Yes,
that's
we are. I wonder if I can write off any of my guns. It's home defense, right? Or it's guarding my business.
You should trim that part out.
All right, number 2. This one has to do with frivolous and outlandish claims.
Okay.
So, do you think that we could deduct vacations, hobbies, or even the cost of a second marriage?
The cost of a second marriage? What do you mean the cost of it? Well, there will be no second marriage or third for that matter.
We're both on our second marriage, babe.
There'll be no third marriage.
No third marriages.
Okay, so I think that a corporate retreat is a possibility as long as there is a component that is dedicated towards team building, camaraderie,
there's a lot
learning. There's a learning component. I'm sure that there is a lot that goes along with allowing that to be.
There's a lot of documenting that has to go into that.
Yeah. I think it's a possibility? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I do. I think that you can have people go on corporate. I've been on corporate retreats. And so, yes, I would say the answer is yes. But I think I would also put a little asterisk at the end, like proceed with caution. Your vacation to Aruba is probably doesn't qualify. And I also think that probably for like the average super small business, meaning 1 or 2 people, that's going to be a harder one to document and do properly. Do I think it's impossible? No. I think you probably need to seek qualified legal CPA advice.
Yeah,
for
you
that.
just have to know what to do. And it depends on how you have your business structure. But no, me and you can go on a vacation and talk business as long as we did everything up and up. We would be able to write it off. I wouldn't do that because that's just a red flag, and that just seems.
Yeah. Plus, who wants to spend? I don't know. I don't want to spend vacation doing that. Yeah, it doesn't seem very fun. So.
I feel like it's just one of the loopholes that people
can take
that the IRS has to make another law because people are making a loophole. But this guy did write off his second marriage or attempt to, claiming it was research for a novel.
Oh gosh,
the IRS declaimed.
Well,
declined.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, common sense. No.
All right, number 3. So, what do you think about illegal activities? Do you think that they're deduction write-off?
Illegal activities?
Illegal activities.
I mean, we'll go with a solid no on
think
illegal activities. You should not be doing illegal activities.
Yeah, you are correct. Unsurprisingly, illegal activities. You cannot write off your illegal activities as an IRS deduction.
Come on,
they
people.
had to put this in here, so somebody must have tried to do it.
Yes,
All right.
I think. Oh gosh.
It sounds like the way that they worded it, illegal substances or equipment used for illegal activities. So I think somebody tried to write off some equipment that they bought for illegal activities.
Oh,
And
well,
it doesn't work out.
that
Just be
doesn't-
honest, people. If it's a legitimate write-off, write it off.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think about personal expenses as business costs?
Ooh, I think that probably doesn't apply to like this line of business, but for sure, I know that it can apply to certain professions. I think there's going to be ladies who are models or are spokespeople.
We're talking about reselling.
Yeah, for reselling. No, I don't think that getting my hair cut can be, I don't know, like a public. I guess that.
But you're on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know. No, probably not.
Okay, you are correct. Attempts to deduct things like personal grooming, home improvements to your home that isn't your home office. So you can make improvements to your home office and deduct it. You can't make improvements to your home and call it a home office
Yeah.
renovation.
And I don't think that.
Yeah. It's any business expense that is related to running your
Now,
running
can I
your
get my
business.
nails done since my hands are
Yeah.
sometimes in the pictures? Maybe?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. We'll have to look that one up. Maybe.
Borderline.
Borderline.
All right. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. Remember, we are not tax professionals. This is what I did for our taxes. These are our own personal opinions on what was legitimate and what wasn't.
Yeah,
If
you're
you want to
doing
know what actually is legitimate, you can visit the IRS website, which is getting better, but it's still really confusing to find your answers on. Or you can hire a tax professional that will be able to tell you all this stuff.
Probably worth it to just hire.
Yeah. You want to make sure you're doing it right.
All right, fellow pickers, go find your story one treasure at a time.
And remember, it's not reselling if you're deducting your second marriage on your taxes.